Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivercast.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Quivercast. Today, we are excited. Someone that I'm stoked to talk to, a longtime surfer, Alastair Thompson. How are you, Alastair?
Hey, Mike. Great to be on the show. I'm good, thanks. Great to be here.
Let's start way back in the day. Before you wrote the book, before you even probably had a thought about writing the book. You talk about in the book that you always loved the ocean, but you didn't surf. Why was that? Why didn't you surf?
Oh, man. You start with a great question, but that's a hard one. I guess it's the same reason I didn't write for a while. I was afraid. There was a couple of things. I grew up a long way from the ocean, but we'd go away as a kid. We'd go away on holidays to the ocean. It was just, to start surfing, there was never enough time. There was always an excuse not to do it. That was the same with writing. There was always an excuse. There was never enough time to do it right. I would never be able to get it right. And that stopped me from doing a lot of things. Never been able to do it right. And eventually, it took me, 20 odd years before I finally got in the water with a surfboard and said, I'm going to surf. I'd done everything else. I'd done body surfing. Got on a wave ski. I'd done windsurfing. I always loved the ocean. But for some reason, the thing I most wanted to do, I just always found a reason not to do it until I did. And then I started doing it. Now I don't stop. Now I do it every day. It's pretty much the same as writing.
Okay, awesome. So you have these two passions. So you grew up in South Africa, am I correct?
I grew up in South Africa. I grew up in Johannesburg, what was then Johannesburg, 1,000 kilometers away from the ocean. Also, interesting times back then. It was apartheid. I grew up during apartheid and then came of age kind of when apartheid was falling down. I was at university watching Nelson Mandela get out of jail, come and speak at the universities. That was all really cool.
Did you know of any surfing stars? Did you know any names? Was there?
I knew the names. I mean, there was, my namesake, Sean Thompson, who
I was going to say,
is a fantastic surfer. I've never met him personally. One day I hope to meet him, but, he's a great guy, admire his work, the work he does in surfing. But yeah, he was always around.
So that was the one name. Did you know any other current names at the time when you were looking into surfing?
Not really. I was always, growing up in South Africa, it was always sport around. So I was always playing rugby or cricket or, if it had to do with a ball and a bat of some form, I was there. And so there was a lot to keep me busy away from surfing. Surfing wasn't really a cultural thing. It was more being in the ocean, riding the wave that really, drew me.
How did you even know about surfing living so far inland? Was it you saw it on TV, on vacation?
On vacation. I was lucky enough my parents would throw my brother and myself in a sort of an old station wagon. We'd drive down to the beach once a year and spend a couple of weeks there. My grandparents lived down there. The ocean, I always had the special affinity for the ocean. Those 2 weeks were never quite enough. And as I got older, spent a little bit more time near the ocean. And it was only when around 28, where I moved to the ocean. I said, this is it. I want to live near the ocean. And, made that a way of life.
So for the first 28 years, you were inland South African?
Inland South Africa. I did a lot of traveling. I grew up in inland South Africa. I studied at university, in inland South Africa. And after university, I said, this is it. I'm not going to spend my life working in a big city. I went up and did some diving in Egypt, traveled up through Africa. Wow. That was interesting. Lived in England for a while, lived in Scotland, lived in the US for a while. Just saw the world a bit. Ended up in Brazil.
That's interesting. And we'll get more into that in a little while because I do want to talk about that. The times of traveling around South Africa, like when you went with your parents on vacation back in the day, and you're a child, I'm sure, or a teenager or whatever. How was that drive?
Man, that first, it was amazing. You know, that first, we would literally, my brother and I, we'd get there after driving sometimes for 2 days, stopping off and just, the first thing we would have to do, we would have to run to the beach. We would have to, we'd be running. Our parents couldn't keep us in the house. We were just, my grandparents lived about a mile away from the beach. If we couldn't walk, we were running. If someone wasn't taking us there, we were getting there. That was it. And if we could have spent all day, every day on the beach, in the water, we would have done it. And I still feel it. Driving over a hill and you're coming over to the break and you look down and there's something special about that place.
I mean, and South Africa is so wild still. It's a wild continent, the whole Africa thing.
I mean, they're places, they're those classic surf breaks that we know about.
Ballito,
Jeffries. But you can drive, 2 hours north of Jeffries and 4 hours north of Jeffries and 6 hours north. You just keep driving and there's big, beautiful bays and you drive over a hill and there it is. I still, still feel it.
Was there any fright there? Was there any fear of the ocean? Like you said, you and your brother would run down to the ocean and enjoy it. Did you get there one time and the waves are huge or anything like that where you're like, oh, shit?
I remember my father was very clear about, you never turn your back on the ocean. The
Smart.
Ocean, and I think I talk about it in my book, you never know what you're going to get. Every time you paddle out, it's a different experience and it can be loving and soft and beautiful, and it can be wild and hairy, and it feels like you're going to die. And there have been a couple of times in the ocean where I felt like we're going to die. And I remember, as you ask, as a kid, running out, just swimming out into the ocean as a 4 or 5-year-old, swimming under these giant breakers. I mean, they couldn't have been that big, but for me, they were giant. There was never that fear. There was always the awareness that the ocean could be a dangerous place, but it wasn't a scary place.
Okay.
And even now, it's not scary, but there is a deep respect for the power, the possibilities. Every time you paddle out, that you might not paddle back in. It's just the way it is.
This is true.
Don't like to think about it too much, but there is this. Here we go again. Once more, do what we've got to do. To a certain extent, we have no control over.
You eventually learn how to surf. How was that experience?
Oh man, the first time I surfed, I still remember. I just got so destroyed. I basically I went out. I was on a work trip. And I went out and said, you know what, I've got a whole afternoon off. I don't have meetings this afternoon. I was down there, Durban, and I said, I'm going to rent a surfboard. I drove to a surf shop, rented a board, and paddled out and just got destroyed. And then it took me a couple of years before, a couple of surf lessons before I moved to a place where I could start surfing regularly. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the most important thing. You're just finding a place where I could get a board, I could get to the ocean, and I could surf often enough that I started to learn how to surf. And I remember it's hard. You got to really want to surf. It's not one of those things that you sort of say, yeah, I'll do this in my spare time and it'll be fun. It's got to be, it's like, I want to do this. And there are places that are easy and there are places that are hard, but it doesn't matter. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy, it's, the ocean's scary. There's stingrays, there's blue bottles, there's, it hurts. I don't know why we do it sometimes. It bites, and once it's bitten,
you're in. You've done all these other sports and stuff. How did any of that compare? All these other things leading up to your surfing experience?
If I say nothing compares, I played, at college, I played competitive sports. In South Africa, it was, rugby was, like playing football.
Wow.
Yeah. And I loved that. That was a very similar feeling because you're up there and you're testing your body under extremely stressful situations. And surfing is similar to that, but surfing takes you out into the ocean. Again, there's something special about the ocean. Sometimes you can go surfing, you can paddle around for an hour and a half, 2 hours. If you don't catch a wave, you're still okay. It's still good. There's something about being in the ocean. There's something about testing your body, your mind, all of yourself. For me, there is something spiritual about it. I don't try too hard to explain it, but paddling out into the ocean by myself, with a friend, with my son, I surf with him now. It's special. It's different. It's not a competitive sport, but it's a sport. It's intensely physical, yet deeply relaxing at the same time.
I mean, even on bad days, I feel rejuvenated if I can just make sure I get in the water. Like
exactly, and especially on bad days. Especially on bad days, I can go into the water and I don't have to have the greatest surf in the world. I come out, I can deal with the rest of everything else that is going on. I've dealt with, the ocean. I feel like it's just cleaned me off and I'm ready to start again.
You said you've done a lot of traveling. How many places in the world have you surfed?
Not as many as I would have liked.
Okay.
Still, Africa, parts of Europe, Portugal, that region, a lot of Brazil. I've lived in Brazil now for almost 30 years.
Wow.
20 to 25 years. California, spent some time there, done some surfing. I love surfing in California. Indonesia, Australia, that whole area, I've not been to yet. I'm waiting for my son to turn 18, and then some bombs in the Pacific.
Okay. Was most of your surfing experience in colder weather, warmer weather? I mean, obviously South Africa can be pretty chilly, especially at the bottom.
Yeah, most of my surfing has been done in Brazil. Really,
Okay.
I raised my kids here. They grew up in a small town in the south of Brazil, Florianopolis. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's
a lot of the big Brazilian names come out of there, right?
Yeah, but there's, right now on the tour, we've got Iago and his dad, Grillo. They all come down here to surf, which is fantastic for my son. Yes, when was it? Friday? Well, no, was it Sunday? This weekend, a couple of days ago, we were out there with the pupos and getting barreled at, the local break. It was...
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. They paddle out, and Adriano de Souza was surfing with us the other day. It's great for young kids. Just my son sits and he goes, "Dad, I think we're surrounded by pros." I said, "That's good. Get out there, do your thing. This is what you need." It's really good for him. Moving here, my kids growing up here, and this is where I surf. It's cold in the winter. This is the winter here, and it was cold and windy. In the summer, it's beautiful, that by 6 a.m. it's in Celsius, don't work in Fahrenheit, but it's, it's pretty, it's warm. It's board shorts and that's all. And winter, we 2-3s, or if you 3-4, that works.
Well, this is a great opportunity to ask, why did you transition from South Africa to Brazil? What made you want to move?
I left South Africa not really knowing where I was going. That's another story completely. But along the way, I was working as a diver in Egypt, in the Red Sea. The ocean, diving was an interesting place. I worked there for about 6 months, and I met a beautiful lady from Brazil, beautiful young lady, and she smiled at me, and I stopped thinking. When I started thinking again, I was, moved to Brazil, and we have, two children. We're separated now. that happens. But she brought me back to Brazil, and I fell in love with the place. It's a beautiful country, very beautiful people, very vibrant, alive kind of culture, people-wise, nature-wise, and even the ocean. There's a lot going on.
So it was an exciting, fun move. Good times?
Good times, yeah. Challenging. Moving into a place where I didn't speak the language, that was challenging. But it's a very welcoming culture. And I learned to speak the language here. It took a couple of years. Let's say it was very similar to surfing. The school of hard knocks. You want to do something, you want to say something. There's only one way to do it, is get out and do it. If you don't put in the hard work, it's not going to work. And I was like learning the language, becoming, I opened a business here, started a business, raised my kids. And, their mom and I went our separate ways, but we were together for almost 19 years, a long time.
So you said in the beginning, just like surfing, you always wanted to be a writer, but you were kind of scared to do so. So what made you flip the switch in your head and say, I'm going to go for this? Or did you even know you were going to go for it?
That's a great question. How to answer it. I was always writing in some form or another. I got into marketing and communications. I found I was doing a lot of writing for other people. I wrote for travel journals. I wrote some educational articles. I wrote for newspapers. But getting from zero to A Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment, that was hours and hours in the water. I wrote that sitting on the ocean. It was around about the time I separated from my ex-wife, and I needed a place where there was space, and I needed to work through some items. And a lot of what I talk about in the book is sort of on forgiveness, on anger, on love, on sharing. All of these topics were worked through. I say they flowed through me as I flowed through the ocean. And just going back into the ocean, each chapter seemed to grow until it had to come out. I didn't know it was going to come out, but eventually it had to. And I started writing, and it kind of formed around the need to say these things that had been sitting inside me for probably 4 or 5 years, probably even longer. That's where it came from. And now there is another book, and it's sitting there, and it's out in the ocean, and it's there. I can feel it, and I haven't found that structure yet. But after this first book, the second one, I'm more peaceful about it. I know that it will find its way out very soon. It feels like it. It's soon. It's time.
You said the structure of it. How did you come up with the structure of the book? Like, it could have been written a million different ways. Did you find that this is your style of writing?
The style, I think, is mine, but the actual structure, the short chapters, this was almost the third rewrite. I had written it once, and then it didn't quite work, and I tried a different format that didn't quite work, and then this was the next step, and as I started writing the first and then the second chapter, it was like, yes, this works for this particular book. And then everything kind of fell into place around that. I'd written, let's say, almost 2/3 of something that didn't quite work, and then went to another 2/3 of something that was almost there. And then the next time I tried to shape it into what it was, it took form. So it felt like it was clay, just molding it, and then feeling what do the potters say? They see the piece inside the block of clay, and they have to play with it until it finds its way out. I didn't see the piece clearly, but I knew it was in there.
Did you have anybody else read it, or any more feedback from anybody around you?
I got some feedback from friends, but it was very much a solitary, effort. It felt like I went into a cocoon, and I, closed the door, and it's okay, jammed away at the keyboard for 2 hours or so a day in the final version. It came together fairly quickly. It was over the course of 2 or 3 months. Just, okay, I got this chapter 1, okay, this next chapter, jam it away, and then And then, sort of in its final form, the rough version, then it had to be reviewed, and it's been through a couple of revisions, and I've had writer friends look at it and publisher friends look at it, and it's changed over the course of the years to what it looks like now and the layout. But I think everything is collaboration. I mean, even surfing, we can start by ourselves, but essentially we find our people in the ocean. We find our people who we see every day. We meet up with them. There's those that seem to pass us by, and they're not our people. And then there are those, there are people
that you kind of gravitate to.
Exactly. I mean, I found even, when I was, my new wife, my second wife she's from San Diego. So we come out and we spend some time in San Diego every year. And I found, spending a couple of months in San Diego, I'd go out, just paddle out front. There's some really nice breaks, and it's just they found a bunch of guys and suddenly became my crew. It took, it takes time, but there was the crew out there, and it feels like wherever you go, you naturally gravitate towards your people.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about surfing too, is that it's not everybody, but if there is mutual respect, very welcoming. Even in a break that might be fairly heavy in terms of the locals, as long as there is mutual respect, especially as a newcomer, having a lot of respect, even the heaviest of locals will welcome you. It might take some time, everything does, but that's the way. And it feels like the same way with the book. You start as a newbie, who's this kid? Who's this guy? What's he doing? And then after a while, okay, he can stick around.
So A Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment. I didn't read the whole book yet, but I'm going to. But it is a very pleasurable read. I don't know what words to exactly describe it, but I kind of jumped around in the Enlightenment to subjects that I think talk to me for today. Does that make sense?
That's kind of how it was written. I didn't write it in that sequence. I would write it in, talking about a day where, I was feeling the sadness of, the loss, sort of the breakup of, my sort of first family, talking about it there, and then maybe looking at another topic the next day, and then just putting it together in some kind of sequence. But that's how it's supposed to be read. It's almost, you can open it and say, on courage. Okay, I need to read about courage today.
Yes.
It's not pages and pages and pages on courage. It's a few short lines on what I learned from the ocean on courage. And that's what it's there for. That is the reason for this, to share a little bit, to share the love.
Yeah, you can almost pick it up and read Courage in 2 weeks when you need to read about it again. It's a good read. It can be entertaining and fun, and makes you think inside your own self.
Thanks, Mike. So, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It makes me think. Every now and again, I pick it up too. And I think, wow, did I write that? That's good. I mean, I say that now. But it's sometimes wow.
You're proud of it.
It really is. There's a part of me that wrote that. Mm-hmm. It was very much from here, and that's why it's important to me. I'm sharing a part of myself here. Yeah, I'm a smart person. I got some smarts, but the real, what the good part is here, being able to share. That's really important to me. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mike. I'm glad it touches you too.
I didn't know what I was getting into when you open it up. It's a read for everybody, and I guess even if you don't surf, I've surfed my whole life, so I don't know, but I do know a lot of people that don't surf that they could learn something from this also. It's
insights from the ocean, and the ocean is there's swimmers, there's sailors. If you're a fisherman, you spend hours and hours and hours interacting with the ocean on a very close personal level. Yeah. But even runners face a lot of the same things we do. They're out there, they're running, they're facing their personal demons on that open road, cyclists, even, there's a little bit of something for everybody in there. I think the ocean part, if you have some connection with the ocean, you will definitely connect more. But I think there's something for everybody in there. Yeah, I've had some great feedback from people who don't surf. Yeah, I got a friend of mine who says he leaves it in his guest bathroom. Sometimes at parties, people go in there and they come out 20 minutes later and they've been reading, they've read a couple of chapters. So,
Yeah, pleasurable to read because it is an easy read. I mean, it's enjoyable. So.
Well, Mike, thank you. I appreciate that. In my day job, I'm a marketing and communications specialist. What I do, my job is literally to take very complex ideas and make them very simple. To share complex ideas in ways that anybody can understand them. That's the essence of this book, is I've taken very complex ideas, courage, love, envy, loss, happiness. These are deep, complex ideas that people have discussed for decades, and I've tried to make them as, let's say, simple, but as relatable as possible. They're short, easy to understand, like you say, enjoyable chapters that you can go, that's it, just And
it makes you think about yourself. So I like that part too.
Thanks, Mike.
So you kind of open this deep thought. Are you like that on an everyday basis? Or you sound like you're a businessman. They're almost two different lives, I would think.
Yes and no. Yes and no. And I like that question too. Everything I learned from the ocean, it's the same in business. You have good days, you've got bad days. There's the perfect wave that you think you're going to get, you're just going to get the perfect barrel and you wipe out. And it's the same in business. That contract that's lined up that, yes, this is it, it's payday and it just falls through for no apparent reason, or you fumble and you just get up and you do it again. I think taking what I learned from the ocean into my life, my relationships, my work, all of my life is richer for applying those principles in my daily life. I mean, I still get mad. I still lose it, and it's not all. Enlightenment it feels like a temporary state before the guy in the SUV cuts me off, the traffic, right. And then I am no longer enlightened, that Grauman, drops in on me when I'm about to get a barrel. It's like, it's not all Zen and enlightenment, but it's reflection. Okay, that happens.
There you go, reflection.
Turn around, paddle back out. There's always another wave,
Yeah. Another thing I noticed about the book too is it relates to a wide group of people. It could be a CEO that surfs every day, but it could also be the guy that lives in his van that surfs every day, that is scraping by just to surf.
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's one of the things I love about surfing. Here in Brazil, especially, we have this really huge gap between the rich and the poor.
Yeah. The haves and have-nots.
Yeah, the haves and nots. And the haves in the ocean will be sitting next to the have-nots. I will literally be surfing out there with the guy who owns he doesn't own the penthouse, he owns the building that has the penthouse on the beach. Yeah. All right. And he's sitting there and he's surfing. And next to him is the guy who comes around and empties the trash bags for the tin and the aluminum recycling. And that's how he lives. And these two guys are sitting together in the ocean. They're catching waves and they're sharing the stoke, and this is okay. We are just people at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how much we have or how much we don't have. We all have the same basic needs, the same basic desires. Have I got enough food on my table? Have I got a roof over my head? Am I loved? Do I have people to love? And maybe the other thing is, does my life have some sense of meaning? That's the rest is details. That's where I try to live my life like that too. The rest is, it's all details.
The ocean is the great equalizer. We're all the same.
We're all the
Once you're
same.
bobbing in the water.
Exactly. Get out, let the ocean tip your world upside down for you.
Yeah. In Brazil, is this book only in English?
Right now it's only in English. I looked around for publishers. Eventually I said, you know what, I'm just going to put this on Amazon. I put it on Amazon myself. Just recently I ran into an editor who's taking me on as, just helping me out as a publisher. But right now it's on Amazon and it's in English. But I am working as we speak on I have a Brazilian translation because I think it's really important to, get it to the place where it, my home. When I say my second, because I am now a Brazilian. I'm a Brazilian citizen.
Oh, cool. Congrats.
I'm a naturalized Brazilian. So it's important that, the Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment, it was a guia de iluminação do surfista.
I don't know what you said, but it sounded pretty.
Yeah, well, it's let's see how it goes. The problem is all of these concepts there's no literal translation. A lot of these it's here, and there's Brazilians have a different way of expressing a lot of what we talk about here. They're there, but it's they basic human, let's say, thoughts, but expressed slightly different culturally. So it's
okay.
It's been a challenging, but I hopefully it'll be a worthwhile process in the end.
A Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment, can it reach multiple cultures? Since you brought that up.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
If you look at surfing, surfing was started in one culture, but I mean even the dolphins do it.
That's
we go out. You've been out there. You've sat in the lineup and watched the dolphins surf past you.
Yes.
We all relate to that riding, connecting with that energy that the ocean harnesses and lets us share it. That's really what the book is about. I mean, yes, we talk about a lot of different things, but it's connecting to the energy. Wow, that's getting deep. But the ocean, what the ocean does, the waves are an expression of this energy, the wind, the sun, the gravitational energy. And it's a way for us to experience the energy that is all around us, that on land, we don't feel it. The ocean, we do. And I think everyone can relate to that, no matter where you are. It doesn't matter, if you're up in the top of a mountain, you feel it. Well, if you're a skier, snowboarder, yeah, you're riding the mountain too. It's there. So I think everybody can relate to this. Doesn't matter, where you're from. And let's say I've stolen, I've borrowed, I have appropriated. There is Zen, there is Christianity, there is Islam, there is everything. There's a bit of, so it doesn't matter where you're from what perspective you read it, you can tie it into your core beliefs. I think it helps.
So you're talking about there's another book inside you. What direction are you going with that? Do you know yet, or is it?
I don't know how. I know what.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like the potter, and I'm looking at the block, or I'm looking at the chunk of clay, and I know what's going to come out of it. I just don't know how. So that's where I am at the moment, and it feels like it's close. And the words, I write it in my head at night. In the morning, I write it sitting on the ocean. I write it sitting in the car. I write it and scribbling in a notebook. That for me, for a long time, not being able to write perfectly, not being able to surf perfectly, not being able to do it the right place, the right time, the right way was a barrier for me. Now I'm kind of learning to say, relax. All you've got to do, just keep that pen on the paper. And don't worry that it's not right the first time. It'll come. It'll come because it's there. And letting go of the outcome, because the outcome is a part of it, but that creative process, there's a mystery in there somewhere. Getting from A to B, sometimes that bridge, it's not necessarily there. You're stepping out into space and trusting that when you put your foot down there, that something will be there. Again, like going back to that surfing analogy, it's you just paddle out. That's all. That's all you've got to do. And some days it's amazing, and some days it's not. You still do it. And I guess it's very similar to writing. You just got to paddle out. You just got to pick up the pen. You just got to open the word processor and start typing away.
Now that you're an author, has that opened other doors for you? Have you done any like guest speaking in front of
that's I've done a couple of podcasts, but I'd like to do some guest speaking. I guess that's the next step. I love the work I do.
Yeah.
I love working together with, I often work with businesses, big and small, or entrepreneurs who've got a great product.
Mm-hmm.
I will help them bridge that gap to say, this is what we need to say. This is what people need to hear. So I'm having fun, but I think it's time to start sharing also some of these ideas in here. It's time. Thanks for asking, Mike.
I do notice in your voice and that you're passionate about this book, which you should be, and you're proud of it. Now I'm going to ask you, this is a hard question.
All right.
This going back to your business. Do you feel as passionate about being a marketer and translating what this company, whatever company, I don't know what companies you deal with, to the consumer or whoever it's trying to approach?
You know what? Yes. Again, yes and no. Yes, there's some great products out there, and I love the challenge. It's the same. You look out at the ocean, you say, yeah, if I get it right, if I get that wave, it's going to be amazing. All right. But I could take, it could hurt. I could take a pounding getting out there, and that's what I like. I love the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So that a lot of I work launching products or scaling products. The work has a very specific beginning and end. I'm not a career guy. I'm not going to sit and. That's not me. I look at a challenge and I say, yes, we can make this happen. But marketing's easier, Mike, which is why I do it. This is that bridge. I know how to do the marketing. While I might not feel as passionate about it, it's easier to do. And that's something I've been reflecting on lately is, the second book. What's stopping it from taking form? Am I preventing it from taking form so I can do the easy work? Can I go paddle out at the break that I know, where I know how to catch that waves? What's stopping me from going around the corner? I know there's a break there. I know it's good. I don't know it though. I've not surfed there. What's stopping me from doing what is new, doing what is scary, doing what is what needs to be done?
Going back to South Africa and your beginnings, and being even a child, did you know you wanted to write? You said you knew you wanted to surf. You always loved the ocean.
No, I didn't. That's why I became an engineer. I'm a process engineer, chemical engineer by training. Yeah, which allows me to take very complex ideas and make them simple. That's the engineer.
Okay.
Deconstructing ideas. But no, it was only after a lot of thought that I, came to that. But even then, I was always writing, even though I didn't know. It was always writing. I had a little back when blogs were not even a thing. Facebook had just come out, and I had a little. No, I don't even know. Facebook had not come out. It was on email. I'd email people something called African Updates, and I was writing. So as long as I can remember, Mike, I've been writing.
It's cool that us as humans, we all enjoy certain things. The book could help some people open up doors to try something new, and talking to you, if you want to try it. You may really be good at it. You may not be, and that's okay too.
Giving yourself permission to not be okay is a huge thing. For me, especially, it was. Do it and get it wrong. It's okay. And surfing is very much about that, because you're not going to get that great wave without throwing yourself into a couple of waves that could potentially have been great, but you didn't do it right. It was just a little bit off. You got to get it wrong. And I think that, taking that chance, getting it wrong, giving yourself permission to fail, and then, moving on if you need to, or if it's something that you connect with, just turn around and paddle back out again.
There you go. All right, so everyone needs to pick up A Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment, Insights from the Ocean on Life, Love, and Happiness. Alastair, are only on Amazon?
Right now, it's only on Amazon.
Okay.
Looking at, getting it distributed. But if you can't find it, message me. I'll make sure you get a copy.
Now let's talk about a couple other things. Well, the book's excellent, everyone. Pick it up, Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment. The parts I've read, I thoroughly enjoy. What kind of board are you riding right now? How many boards do you have?
Oh man, depends where I'm riding. I've got a beautiful 5-6 fish, which I ride in Southern California. Just the waves are a little bit laid back, which that's a beautiful ride. I love that board. Here in Brazil, I'm riding a 510 thruster. I got to work out every day. I can't just go and surf anymore. I've got to stay in shape. I got to lift some weights. And I've got the big old sup for the days where it's a little bit smaller. I do that too.
So that's your quiver. What about your kids? Both your kids surf or just one?
No, my son surfs. He's 15 and he's right now he's surfing better than I am. He's
good, of course.
He's a monster. I mean, I was watching him surf, like I say, a couple of days ago with the pros out there, and he was dropping into these bombs. There's big heavy barrels, and he was just throwing them. It scares me.
Yeah. I've had that.
Throw himself into these things, going, oh no. He's surfing good. He's great. Watching your kids find something they love to do and have the opportunity to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter what that thing is. That's amazing, and that's great. For me as a dad, I'm happy.
Couple things is surfing his main passion, or is he into soccer or any other sports in Brazil?
Surfing's his passion.
Go-to.
Yeah, okay. And it's interesting because I've got a video of him surfing, catching his first wave when he was about 4. Yeah. Then he got into skating for a while. He was kind of like, nah, surfing's not my thing. And then a couple of years ago, he just got into it, and makes his day. As a teenager, I can drag him out of bed at 6:30, 6 in the morning. If the waves are good, he's there.
Just a hungry Grom.
Just a hungry Grom. And there's, he's 15. He's as big as, he's one of those teenagers, like a little bear.
Yeah. Surf and eat, and I guess go to school if you have to.
Yeah. And surfing, after surfing, there's a plate about this full of food.
And,
he grew up here. He's got his crew. There's a bunch of kids, and they roam around the neighborhood, and they got their boards, and they take their boards down. And it's one of those places where the kids can be kids, and the teenagers can be teenagers. It's not, they don't have to stay up behind, in safe places. They can get into dangerous situations safely, and the surfing gives them that, that gives them that risk that they need. So
and surfing, I mean, I think it's the healthiest thing there is, but yeah, there's a lot of places in the world that they need surfing.
A lot of the guys I admire, guys like Adriano de Souza.
Adriano de Souza is the nicest guy in the world, by the way.
Oh man, he's
the nicest
how's that
guy.
Man? He's like
he's great.
Like to say, out in the water with him, and he's just great energy, and he's doing, working with kids, taking that energy and that passion that teenagers have, and they need to put somewhere. Test themselves out in the ocean. Get out there, throw yourself out there. Do what you have to do, especially guys. I mean, guys, I know there's a lot of energy that needs to be, the ocean's a great place to spend it.
Yeah. Do you think that's why, because the kids are so hungry in Brazil, that Brazil kind of has had this last decade, ever since Adriano de Souza really, has
Yeah.
kind of come up in the pro surfing world? These guys are, I mean, the most amazing surfers in the world, even
I
currently
think
now.
that's one of the reasons. And I think another one is the waves here. The waves here they're not great. To surf the waves well here, you've got to really know how to surf. You've got to be fast. You've got to be technical. So the level of surfing here, once the kids get into it and they start surfing and they want to be good and they want to surf, they just pushing themselves harder and harder and higher and higher. Surfing, there's a lot of expression, and this is a very expressive culture. You can express yourself any way you want out there. You can surf any way you want out there. You don't have to do it the right way. You ride your own waves. So maybe that's it.
So you have one kid or two kids?
I have a son who's 15 and my daughter is 24. She never got into surfing.
Were they raised bilingual?
Yeah, they're both completely bilingual. You have those conversations where the sentence starts in English, halfway through it's Portuguese. It's responded in Portuguese. Halfway through, there's an English word, then a Portuguese. Whatever kind of worked best. By the time they were speaking, I was fairly bilingual. So it was, and their mum was bilingual. She was Brazilian and she was bilingual. So it was.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was fun. So the kids they essentially Brazilian growing up here in Brazil, but they also have different part of their brain that works sort of almost English.
Okay. Yeah. And when's the last time you've been back to South Africa? Has it been a while?
I go if I can every year, just to see my parents. My parents are still alive. So, I go and say hi, check in. My brother lives in Canada. He comes. My sister still lives in South Africa. So we jam everybody together. We go down to Cape Town. My parents are living there, and there's some great waves. Don't let anybody tell you there are no waves in Cape Town. There's some.
Oh no, it's amazing. Yeah, I've never been there, but I have friends that live in all around. And by the way, you can get some pretty nice houses for inexpensive, at least American wise, right on the beach in South Africa. I've been looking.
There's places, like I say, in South Africa, you can drive for 2 hours and you come over a hill and you look down and there's some cows grazing on the fields and there's a big bay and there's some rides rolling down the bay and it's...
No one out.
Did I just go back in time? It's...
What are the similarities and then what are the differences between, let's say, South Africa and where you live in Brazil?
I think the similarities are culturally, it's a very passionate, expressive group of people, and Africa is the same. I think I like that it's a little bit disorganized. It's not perfect. There's little things that don't quite work the way that they should. There's a part of me that likes that. There's a space in between. What is that? That's Leonard Cohen's song that says, the cracks are where the light gets in. And I feel it's kind of like that. The imperfections are what make it perfect for me.
So you're in Brazil forever. Is that the plan?
I don't know if it's the plan. For now, my son is 15.
Yeah.
It's there's get him out there. There's some amazing places in the world that I still haven't seen. But I think in terms of a place that I call home here in Florianopolis, the south of Brazil, we get cold winters, so we can light a fire. We get beautiful hot summers, so we can lie on the beach, and the waves are pretty consistent year round. So
yeah. And your wife's from San Diego, so you get that Southern California culture. How different is that from where you are?
Ooh,
it's similar.
Organized. I do. The waves in Southern California, the Pacific.
It's playful.
It's amazing.
Most of the time.
I love the waves there, and I like San Diego, and they're very different. San Diego is it's dry, it's the desert, never rains, and here it's green. Here, the green is alive. You fly in here and it's almost like, wow, that's where all the oxygen comes from.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's like the Pacific Ocean is like the Atlantic rainforest, the ocean, the Pacific, that ocean in that California coast is so rich. It's amazing. It's very different from the ocean here. The ocean here seems the life's on the land. There's a lot going on, but it's sort of sand bottoms, not a lot of reefs, especially here the south of Brazil.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Southern California, San Diego is a beautiful city. It's an amazing city, really.
All right. Well, Alastair, thank you so much. First off, for writing the book. I think everybody, surfer or non-surfer, but I think only surfers listen to me. I don't know why non-surfer would, but everyone should share this book with their friends and get this out there. It's on Amazon, A Surfer's Guide to Enlightenment. Let's hope we see it in the bookstores, the Barnes & Noble here in California pretty soon. I think it would do pretty well there. I think people need to read this book. I think there's some life lessons can be either translated or learned, but I think people will understand the book. Thank you so much, Alastair, for coming on the show, the Quivercast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. It was great to be here. Really appreciate it.
All right, everybody. This is Mike and Alastair Thompson, and we are out of here. Later.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. Ride this wave to the shore. Paddle out, I'm gonna catch 10 more. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. I don't care if it's wrong or right. I'm gonna do it all day, I'm gonna do it all night. I'm going surfing, I'm going surfing, going surfing with friends. On my way, it's a beautiful day. I'm going surfing, I'm going surfing, going